Hello everybody, 2 videos in 2 days. Again, whenever I get something messaged to me in the members chat, or if there's something that goes on in the members chat which I find of interest, or even the moderators chat, I'm just like, do you know what, I may as well just respond to it via video rather than just writing words, because from my personal perspective I just find just typing on a fucking phone just drives me insane. So hence why I like doing voice messages, or in this specific case doing a video format based video on the game that we love. And I say it was brought to my attention by Blonde. It wasn't directly brought to my attention by Blonde, but she just basically put up in the members, no, wasn't, whatever, whether it was members or moderator chat in the Discord, that this company sportspro, which you would have been made aware of if you follow FPL Focal on Twitter, that basically a bit of nugget of information was brought to us that there could be a new format inputted into the game itself. There's speculation of people suggesting, oh, we'll have free hits every game and stuff. And no, I think based on logic, which always, as we know, fails, I think that is going to be a case of a new draft league, or like what was it, Ultimate Fantasy? I think it was. Oh, there's the bench over there. Ultimate Fantasy, it was called. And yeah, I'm not personally interested in any form of new formatted type of game which is going to be involved. To be honest with you, I have no direct interest in that whatsoever. I'm more interested in just next season in general in playing it. But of the video that was linked in with that chat, I personally was just fascinated by them talking about the whole of fantasy football is now coming to what would you say, the furore? I don't know, whatever the terminology is. It's basically, they were just saying that yeah, this game is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which we know that's stating the bloody obvious. I've said it for about 10, 15 years when I've been playing fantasy football. Not necessarily this game, but certainly just the whole commentating on it and talking about it. I said one day it will feature in main channels, i.e. like Sky, BBC, and so far it's kind of at the stage where we're at podcasts, like with 505 with Chris Sutton, and I believe Sky do one, but I don't know if that's targeted on Fantasy Football Premier League that we play, or if it's for Sky Sports, I don't know. But certainly the big main media channels, they will be at some point covering it on obviously a much more professional level than any of us can imagine. Like, you have got like professional setups like FPL Juice, who they're a small time channel, but they've got a very similar, to be honest, they're very, very similar to Elite FPL. They've got a very hardcore audience who love the stuff that they do. They're in a studio, which is just incredible. The fact that they get to rent out a studio. I don't know if they rent it out or they're just given the opportunity for free to do so, but certainly the fact they're in a studio and their setup is it's just ridiculous. I'd love to be able to do that. I don't mean being able to go on the show. It'd be great if I got an invite, but what I mean is it'd be great if me and Jason could do a studio-based one. Or you've got someone like Planet FPL as an example, who they kind of, it's not really a studio, is it? It's more just 2 guys sat around a table and with 2 decent microphones and everything. And then of course, then you've got the YouTube channels, which literally just do what me and Jason do, which is just sat in front of a laptop or a PC and doing whatever they can do in front of a basic screen layout. But certainly the big channels like Sky and BBC, once they cotton on to this world of fantasy football, where it is big business in the sense of trying to get eyes on their product, oh, they're going to smash it out of the water, because obviously they've got the correspondence at the games themselves. They've got all the stats and the information, the producers, the directors, the stagehands, everything you can imagine is going to be for them. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. What I found watching this Sports Pro seminar was them basically just saying how that, look, teams are now, like the Premier League teams are now cottoning on to this and kind of taking advantage of people engaging with their clubs and everything. And I did find it, I mean, from a marketing point of view, 10 out of 10, but I found it quite sad how this game isn't really looking at people as like, oh, you support Burnley, you support Man City, you support Liverpool, you support Bournemouth. You know, winner. Got to get that joke in every single video. But yeah, they don't seem to be caring about that. It's more about how do we get more of an audience onto our product that just like the Premier League full stop. Now, yeah, there are, I'm sure, of the 11.2 million as they kept banging on about, I'm sure that of that, 9 million are dedicated to one Premier League team. But there are going to be a significant high percentage that literally have no interest in the Premier League whatsoever. And obviously there are over thousands of other fantasy football games. I mean, you could take, I don't know, fantasy NFL as an example, or hockey, where I have no interest in whatsoever, but I could potentially just pick up my phone, go onto my laptop and go, I'm going to make a team, and literally just pick the popular players that are there, put the captaincy or whatever, however it's done, on the biggest name star, and that's it, done. The irony being, of course, is that if we did that with fantasy football, you'd probably win the fucking thing. Well, you'd do quite well anyway. But the point being is that I did find it a bit tragic watching the video and just thinking, you know, you're trying to appeal to a much larger audience for your game to then bring eyes onto the Premier League. I found that a bit grim, considering when you think about how much money is invested into the Premier League, and then the outside sources around the Premier League, how much money is involved in it. It just says a lot about greed and business and everything. I just find it really, really sad. And yeah, I think, look, from an FPL perspective, it's great to have more eyes on it, but I also find, as we noticed this season, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to fuck about here, I just found like a lot of the streams that I was watching just became more about just answering questions. Now, I know I'm stating the bloody obvious, I'm aware of this, but it used to be a case of like the streams were being done because people just enjoyed engaging with an audience that they had watching. Now it's just, and I'm not being rude, it's just, let's just answer a super chat. And because these individuals are getting hundreds of super chats, it's focused on. It's, shall I captain Gundogan or Haaland? Shall I bring in Grealish or Mahrez? Is Salah worth the punt versus Norwich? Oh, Burnley have got a really easy fixture against Nottingham Forest. Do I get in another defender? This again, I know this is just my own personal taste and preference, but I just find it so flat and boring. And yes, I get it, it's what the quote consumer wants. But, you know, you could argue that with the likes of Lidl and Aldi. But there's a reason why, yes, they are the leading retail in whatever field it is, regarding, when I say field, I mean as in like customer turnover or whatever. But have you ever shopped in these places? They're shitholes. I fucking refuse to go to the one down there. Like, yeah, okay, I'll go in there once every 3 months because I'm absolutely desperate to buy a chocolate cookie for 50p. But in all seriousness, like, I refuse to go to these cheap, crappy shops because they're just ridiculously busy. The shelving is a fucking mess. The customers they get in there are so, oh my god, they're just literally just zombies. Like the other day, for example, I literally just said to someone, what the fuck are you doing? Just walk normally. are just like all over the place. What are you doing? I do find the clientele completely different to, say, in Tesco or Marks and Spencer's or whatever. But the point I'm trying to get at is that, yeah, great. You know, we want more customers. But yeah, that's great. But you're not really providing much for those customers. It's just, oh yeah, they've got thousands and thousands of cookies on sale. But you don't really take pride in what the cookies are like. So long as we baked off 3,000 in one go, dump them there, they're going to sell. Yeah, but the quality of it is shit. That's why it's so fucking cheap as well. Because you know you're going to sell God knows how many cookies. Like I said, it's the same with this world of fantasy football. It's like, I'll answer all the questions I can. So that we, the consumer, are like, please, 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 answer my questions. But the actual level of, I don't know, engagement, whatever, I just find it's just dull and boring. And I think that's going to be the big issue next season in the world of fantasy football content creation, is that it's just going to be more live streams of just answering questions. And I think it could be a case, because of what I've noticed specifically the season just gone, is that there were quite a few content creators just seeming to be throwing out content for the sake of throwing out content. What, you mean like this, going into a graveyard? But this is why I prefer the more personal type videos, in which, I've always said this, which you can relate with. I mean, I keep using big time podcasts where I genuinely just can't relate with that person. I can't engage with them. I can't even just feel part of the process, because they're so big time that they're not interested. It's like, if I don't listen, who cares? That person is, or that person is, because in this case it's Peter Crouch or it's Ben Foster. Yes, and I'm sure there is going to be someone that says, yeah, but their podcasts are of quality. Yeah, they probably are. But actually, when you think about it, the reason why they're of quality isn't because of them. It's because of the guest. Like, that's what, again, that's just a personal opinion myself. But certainly, this is why I personally prefer independent podcasts. And it's why I personally seek out, or try and seek out, independent podcasts where it is going to be a bit more personable and it's going to feel a bit more engaging, because basically you feel that individual on screen, or the one that's speaking to you on the podcast, is actually going to, without wanting to use the word again, but I have to, engage with you, the audience member, rather than you just a number. Because then what it comes down to is that, oh, just like a Tesco employee or an Asda employee or Sainsbury's or any very, very, very large organisation, it's just, you're just a number. You're just a number. No one cares. And that's how I feel with fantasy football. It just seems to be all about numbers. Oh, we've got 11 million players playing. Yeah, but as we've discussed to death, how many of that 11 million are engaged from day one to the final day of the season? I'd argue 3. See who gets that quote. Ooh, in fact, right below, what quote is that? 3? Come on. Give it a 3. But I would say 3 million. And even then, of that 3 million, how many are really dedicated to the game? Again, let's just say positively or optimistically 1 million. And then, of course, if you were to break it down into the content world and how many people consume content, actually, you know, if you're talking the biggest podcast / YouTube channel out there, which is Andy Let's Talk, I'm pretty certain it's Andy Let's Talk FPL. So he's got what? 200, let's just say 300, he's less than 300,000 subscribers on YouTube, but let's just say 300,000 subscribers. Of that 300,000, how many then watch FPL Focal, FPL Harry, FPL Raptor? And then of that percentage, who then listens to all the other content? Because I can't even think about putting a figure on how much podcasts or YouTube channels there are. I mean, it's hundreds. From FPL Graveyard to FPL. In fact, let's go through the graves here, shall we? We've got the FPL Fraser channel. We've got the FPL McMahon channel. We've got the FPL Bezra channel. That's just 4 alone. And then they've got a small amount of people that watch. And it just goes on and on and on. Yeah, I'm feeling like that. Yeah, I'm beginning to know how that feels. An everlasting life that just goes on and on and on. Yeah, I'm beginning to know how that feels as well. If you don't know that comment, then you don't know the show. And it's not extras, Harbour Boy. But yeah, I just find this whole thing of like, we just want numbers for the sake of numbers, I found a bit cringe. I'd rather, don't get me wrong, there were some interesting points made about how they're going to adapt the game and how, or more specifically, how they're going to get the game more involved with the TV shows and everything, which is great. But I didn't want to hear from this lady. I didn't want to hear about numbers. We want more numbers. You know, the game's grown by 4% over the past 2 years or whatever it was, and yeah, it was quite weird just watching on my bed. I mean, Blonde was like, "Oh yeah, here's some beach reading or whatever." It's like for me again, this is just me. I cannot sit in the sun or wherever, just looking at my phone, or if you had a Kindle or an iPad, and just read an article like that off a screen, forget it. I'd rather just listen into the YouTube video, which was produced by these individuals or recorded and then uploaded to YouTube, and just hear what they're talking about and actually visualise while I was lying on my bed. And yeah, I just found it just really, really fascinating, the whole thing of how the game is getting bigger. And yeah, like we say, we keep banging on about this, you know, with the game getting bigger, you know, how will that affect Elite FPL? And probably won't, because again, who wants to hear someone just ranting and raving about the fact that this player did nothing? And this is the problem. I'll tell you what the problem I've always had with anything mainstream is, it's just so fake. And it's why fan channels became so popular, like Arsenal Fan TV, although if I'm completely honest with you, I've never really watched Arsenal Fan TV, but certainly when I've gone back in the history of it, and don't get me wrong, mainly watching the DT stuff and just seeing what he had to say, I found there was some realism, the organic nature to it, whereas now, when they're in this, don't get me wrong, this full-on setup in a studio and everything, and yeah, Dan does say that it's really good, but they just produce so much content that if I've ever tuned into a live stream, which again is very, very rare, I'm just like, this isn't what it used to be. It's just it just feels forced. It genuinely just feels forced. The nature of it all. And it does feel like, and again, I could be completely wrong, and I probably am, but it does feel like what do you call it? The members presenting, they seem to just have been told, try to keep the swearing down, try not to come across too aggressive, which I understand, because when you're trying to appeal to a global audience and like your casuals, then yeah, that's what's going to grab people. Whereas having someone like DT, I know he's not there anymore, but people don't want it. Even though ironically, I find it fascinating. It's the same with Mark Goldbridge. I as you know, I listen to Mark Goldbridge regularly, and when he's covering Man United, I do find that, and then Jason makes a very valid point. Look, at the end of the day, he's doing this every single day, doing some form of content. Like at the moment, like for That's Football, he's producing daily transfer updates and all this, and it's got do you want to do that pose again? It's got that typical thumbnail that it's got, and then how much can you talk about? I mean, like I said, when you're invested in something and it's the size of That's Football or whatever, you kind of have to do it. Obviously with the United stand, they're doing, I don't know how many videos they do a day. Obviously Mark doesn't do all of them, but I mean, what's he doing? 2 or 3, maybe 4 videos a day regarding Man United and just football in general, which is great, but you must get burnt out. So this is my point about the live streams that he does. So when he was doing the Man United versus Man City game, oh God, it was the best bit was when there we are. When Man United conceded after 15 seconds and he went fucking apeshit. It was glorious because it was him. Because when you watch content, you can see the real person or when they're kind of putting it on, and he was going absolutely fucking mental and it was fantastic and I was loving it. And then it was almost like, not literally, but it was almost like he had someone in his ear to say, all right, Mark, calm it down. You can't be using the F word. Can't be using the F word. And it was almost like he just reverted back to this fake kind of pretend anger. And I was just like, what's just gone from that to that? Oh, because you don't want to be censored. That's how I perceived it. From someone that was literally listening in from the start, all the build-up, all the fascinating build-up to the match, and then bang, kick-off. Right, here we go. This is going to be brilliant. What's he fucking doing? You know, and he's going fucking apeshit about it. Then all of a sudden, it's like a switch. Come on, and it's like, oh, can't talk. Got to take it easy. No. But again, he's a business, and this is his job at the end of the day. So he has to kind of toe the line. Again, I love what Mark Goldsbridge does, but unfortunately it's just coming a bit And this is the thing with the world of fantasy football, which we've always discussed, which is you can be a niche little community like the FPL Juice or like Elite FPL, where you have got that die-hard audience which stick by you thick and thin and enjoy what you do and enjoying the journey and the characters that are involved. I mean, funny enough, I was watching the London Dashcam and it had nothing to do with traffic this time or idiots on the road. It was just him down at the beach, and he was just like basically saying, oh, can you guess who lives in this house down the road here? And he just went on a little walk. But because I know him as a person, not literally, but because I know him as a content creator behind the wheel, you just stick with it. And it's just so nice to just kind of like, oh, thankfully we're not, it's just something different. Him out of his vehicle and then just walking along wherever and just talking regarding the, in fact, why don't we just go for a quick walk? But yeah, just talking about this famous person. It was Patrick Moore, by the way, which I couldn't believe died in 2012. But that's unfortunately when he passed away. I mean, he had a good innings. I think he was like 80s, in his 80s. I'm in my 80s. But no, I certainly think, like I keep banging on about this whole popularity of the game, it just means that the bigger channels, like I mentioned before, they're just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger because obviously their videos get more and more promotion. And yeah, it will be, like I keep banging on about, and without wanting to repeat myself, it will be really, really interesting to almost see where next season goes, because I'm really excited, because that beautifully links me into yesterday's video and the whole thing regarding my interview in the NHS. So I will touch wood. Here we go. Let's touch this tree here. This tree here. Touch wood that I get the job, because I personally thought the job interview went really, really well. I came out of it, I messaged Jason, I said I've come out of it really, really positive, and I think that I've got a really good chance of getting it. I mean, there were supposed to be 16 people, and we discovered of those 16 that only 8 turned up, and then we discovered that it was 2 jobs available. So there were 2 jobs available for the 16 people that were applying for it, or obviously it turned out to be 8. Literally within 2.3 seconds, one person just dropped out. They said, I can't do this, I'm going. My brother reckons he was probably on the dole, so he just was only turning up just so he's come to an interview and then he can go again. So there were 7 other people left. There was one guy, coincidentally, called Jason, and he was very good. He was in his mid to late 40s. He was probably my closest competition. He was fantastic. He had experience in care homes and even working with the NHS, even doing volunteer work. And he was very, very good. There was another guy, I think his name was Nirash or something, Nirish. He was quite well spoken, but then the other 4, I don't think, again, I could be completely wrong, I don't think they've got a chance, to be honest with you. So then obviously we're now down from 3 people to apply for 2 jobs. So I thought that the interview went exceptionally well. Talking with the lady that was doing the interview, I built up a good rapport with her. She seemed pretty keen on me and everything. And I'd like to think that in the next few days I'll find out if I got the job. The only potential downside that may mean that I don't get it is because either one, they may think, why is this guy going from technically a managerial position in Tesco to wanting to become a porter, which I always find pretty tragic. But you know, it's like, I'm not going to try and steal your job, don't worry about that. I'm not going to try and, you know, take anything away from you. I just want to come into a job which is just helping people, basically. Anyhow, and the other thing was that I was making the point that Saturdays aren't particularly great for me. I can still work them, and she was just really reiterating, look, unfortunately you cannot have Saturdays off, and the only shifts available are 11 till 7 or 8 till 4. So I'm just like, look, I'm not saying I can't work Saturdays, and if that's the shifts that are available, that's the shifts that are available. And she said, all we care about is, are you flexible? That's all we care about. And I was just like, yes, I'm 100% flexible. And she was like, that's great then, that's fine. So other than that, I can't see any negatives to come out of this particular job interview whatsoever. I personally can't, but I'll be finding out in 3 or 4 days, she says. But I'm not going to lie, I'll be fucking gutted if I don't get the job, because it sounds perfect for me. Like, I'm not joking, it sounds absolutely ideal. But we will find out in the next few days or so. But that also means, though, that unfortunately it will be the end of the Soccer Saturdays. Well, I say the end, I don't know if Jason will be taking over. This is something that me and Jason will have to discuss, but certainly as it stands right this second, unfortunately there will be no more Soccer Saturdays with myself, because the shifts at the hospital, or the ones that I'm going for, is on Saturday and it's 11 till 7. Now, I've already thought in my head how Elite FPL is going to play out, and I think what will probably happen, this is just, again, if I get the job, how it will play out is that I would probably do an evening stream with Jason if he's available, because I know weekends are a bit iffy for him. But it would mean that maybe doing a stream with Jason in the evening, reacting to everything that's happened, and then maybe we could do, well, I could do the live show on Sunday during the matches, maybe. And then, because like I said, next season, because I'm going to be a lot more available in the evenings, it means that Jason is available when I'm available. So it in turn means that there'll be more streams with myself and Jason, which means that gets you, or you guys, involved with what we're going to be doing regarding the Discord call-ins. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, like, because of, I'm not going to beat about the bush, because of my history with online dating, and I know this is a job application, but I've been on so many dates, I've had so many of the break the ice phone calls, and you get on really, really well with the woman, and basically you think, oh, that was a really good date, and then all of a sudden they send you this 50-page document essay to say, no, I'm not interested, I don't want to see you again. But we were getting on really, really well. I don't understand what's wrong. And then they always came out with the most ridiculous reasoning, like it would be, I didn't like the fact that you turned up wearing a grey jumper, or I didn't like the fact that you were. I remember one actually. She said that she didn't like the fact that I was laughing at inappropriate jokes, and I'm like, or making inappropriate jokes, and I'm like, but that's what made me and you get on really well, is because you liked my dark sense of humour, and now you're telling me when we meet up in person. The reality of the situation is that they met up with someone else, and they're more interested in that guy. But again, that's a Total Stevo podcast. In fact, it has been a Total Stevo podcast. But yeah, it just kind of reminds me of that, where I'm thinking, God, is this going to be the same again? Like, we seem to have built up a good rapport. You seem to have been very interested in the work that I've done in the past, and the fact that, you know, I did very well on the English and maths tests, which were literally something that would be for a year 3 or year 4 kid. To be honest with you, like for instance, one of the maths questions was, how many hours are there between 3 and 7, as a simple example. But I've just unfortunately got this psyche of like, because I mean, Vince Chapman's the one that always says this, why are you so negative? And it's like, I keep saying this, it's because I've been shat on my whole life. Every single time I do something positive, I get kicked in the bollocks. So yeah, regarding like with this interview, I just have this fear deep down where it's like, even though it was like really, really successful and really, really enjoyed it, oh yeah, unfortunately we're going to give the job to this individual who, you know, no disrespect or anything, but was just more the ideal candidate. I don't know, but anyway, I'm waffling now. That was your second video of the week, and really do appreciate you guys interacting with us still and just enjoying the content. Cheers guys, and see you later.